Hey guys, welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. It is Thursday, December 4th, and it's looking like Christmas. In Northwest Arkansas, we got a little bit of snow yesterday. So I like it. I like it. It makes it festive. We have a lot to discuss today. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to help contribute to the show, one way you can do it is powerchatlive.ramseypaul. Leave a tip. In fact, I got one. I will cover it here in a second. And I always want to give you another option. You can write me at my P.O. Box, 8093 Fayetteville, Arkansas, 72703. And finally, if you want to follow me on Substack, every Tuesday night we have a roundtable, additional content. It's a way to support me monthly. I do appreciate that. All right. Well, let's get in first of all with the power chat I got in. And this is from Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy. Thank you very much, Wonder Boy. Just a quick correction regarding Barbara Spectre. She was born in the USA. Then she moved to Israel at the age of 25. Later in life, at age of 57, she went to Sweden and got millions of taxpayer dollars to create a Jewish studies in Europe. Let that sink in. Yeah, thank you for that update. I'm not sure what I had wrong, but she's a Jewish woman. She was born in the United States, but she went to Sweden and they started a Jewish studies program. And as part of that program, she advocated that Sweden needed to go into multicultural mode. Sweden couldn't just be for the Swedes. And remember, in the 70s, when Sweden was almost 100% Swedish, white Swedish people, there was almost no rape, no crime. I mean, there was some, but almost none. It was a very peaceful society. Now, after all this immigration from the third world is extremely violent. They're like the rape capital of Europe now. They have grenade attacks, gang attacks. And again, they're all from these immigrants that do not adjust to Swedish society. But she said Sweden needed to do that. And not just Sweden. She said all of Europe needs to go in multicultural mode, which she means not be white countries. And how this related to her Jewish studies, a lot of Jewish people feel that white people are inherently dangerous, and they always point to the Third Reich and Nazi Germany. So the way to overcome the danger is to eliminate whiteness or to eliminate white countries, make sure no country is majority white. So a lot of Jewish groups, and not just Jewish groups, other groups have followed along too, like Catholic Charities, but they've had a real mission to import Africans and people from Central America and Muslims into formerly white countries like Ireland, Britain, the United States, Canada, Australia. We see this everywhere. And it's not improved the standard in living in our countries. We were told a lie that, oh, it make us more wealthy and better to compete on a global market, which didn't make a lot of sense because when we were homogeneous populations, like the United States, 90% white, we dominated international trade. We didn't need diversity. Britain, the same way. In the 19th century, they dominated everything, and they weren't diverse. So it's all based on a lie, and it's also based on a lie that people are exactly the same. Groups of people are the same. It's just maybe skin color differences. And again, that's a lie. There's a lot of diversity in the world, and it's just not skin color, but it's intelligence and it's behavior. And much of this, some of it's culture, how they learn, but a lot of this, I believe, is genetic. Just like in dog breeds, if you have a Labrador retriever, which I do, they instinctively want to retrieve stuff. If you have a pit bull, they want to fight other dogs. That's bred into them. It's the same way with people. People aren't necessarily compatible. But Barbara Spectre, yeah, she was a big one. She was famous for that because she's said that, hey, we're going to do this. And we know the Jewish people are probably going to get backlash for this, but we got to do this. And people asked Barbara, so, well, how about Israel? Should Israel go into multicultural mode and just accept all these other groups of people? And she said, no, Israel needs to be for her people, the Jewish people. So this is where we get the nationalism for me, but not for thee. So for the Jewish people, they can engage in nationalism, blood and soil in Israel. And not only is that okay, but we have to support that. But we don't have that same right. In fact, if we do it, is fascism, white supremacy, and Nazism. Barbara Spectre, although she wasn't extremely important, she was sort of a symbol of what happened. And she made that video years ago before a lot of people, before the whole refugee thing and everything else. So it was interesting. So thank you very much for that. She's been a very damaging person. There's been people behind the scenes like Soros that have been more damaging, but she was one that actually went on video and explained it. And, she kind of took the mask off, so to speak. So thank you for that very much. All right, now we'll get into the stories for today. And today, I think based on the title of my video, it's just how the West, formerly a beacon of Christianity and goodness and light, and I know there was issues in the West always, it wasn't always perfect, but we had certain values. Now the West is spiraling into a real dystopian state or situation where people live in fear to speak out, where our own governments are attacking the people that built these countries. It's a real nefarious, evil thing. They bring in people that aren't compatible to us. These people, or a lot of them, they engage in vicious crimes, sometimes against our children. But if we should complain about it, we go to jail, not the criminals. So the people in charge, they're complicit in the war against us. You could say, why? What is their motivation? Are they being paid off? This is how they get power. Or do they believe it? Do they believe white people are evil? They need to be eliminated? I don't know. It's probably a combination of that, but that is what is happening. And the first story we're going to show, this is, I believe, in Ireland. And really sad what's happening in Ireland here. But this was a teacher here, Enoch Burke. And there was this, I guess, in high school, there was a boy, I believe, that thought he was a different gender, which he can't be. That's just nonsense. But this has been a fad. They've been pushing on kids now. And so this boy wanted to be called by a different pronoun. And Burke said, hey, I'm not going to do that. It's against my religious belief. It's against reality. You're doing compelled speech. I mean, if this guy wants to pretend he's a girl, or if he wants to pretend he's a cat, or if he wants to pretend he's a Vulcan, I guess what you do in your own time is your business, but you can't force other people to call you something you're not. And he was dismissed from the school. He got into a court case, and he won't back down now. And so now he's facing life in prison for not using the proper pronouns. So they say proper pronouns. He actually used the proper pronouns because the boy is still a boy, even though he thinks he's a girl. But this just shows you the tyranny that we're being subjected to in the West. And I think we have another video of this. And I think a lot of people are really, really getting tired of all this trans ideology and how it's become very evil, anti-free speech, anti-Western. It's a strange perversion. And here we go. So this is a teacher. Okay, he's not a rapist. He's not a murderer. He's a good man. And all he want to do is kneel before this gender ideology, which is a lie. It's anti-Christian. It's anti-everything good. It's a perversion of life. And they have him in chains here. And this is, let me see if I got if there's an audio here on this here.
Okay. This is Enoch Burke, the teacher who has refused to deny his Christian belief and bow to transgender ideology. We're here at the Four Courts again in Dublin, where Enoch's case was again before Mr. Justice Brian Cregan. And he had a number of matters to deal with today in relation to the case. But at the beginning, he said, if any member of the Burke family so much as speaks, they will be removed by Gardaí. So this is the situation we're in. Lies are being told from the bench. Enoch Burke, his name blackened, the Constitution set at naught, the law disregarded, and if a person so much as speaks a word, they will be removed by a battalion of Gardaí.
So I'm not going to watch the whole video, but this is good for him to stand up against this tyranny. We are going to have to do this and take risks. We can't stay silent with this evil. And again, remember how this progressed. There was reasons in the West that homosexuality, which I don't believe is an identity, it's a behavior, was illegal. And then it was treated as a mental illness, and then it was tolerated, and then it was actually, well, more than tolerated, and that's just as good as heterosexuality. You're born that way. That's nonsense. There's no gene or anything like that. And then it started to be anyone that criticizes this behavior, they are going to jail. So we're in this global homo tyranny right now across the West. And it's about time people stand up against this. And God bless Enoch Burke. All right, let's take a look at another thing. That was Ireland, and we'll take a look what's happening in Britain. And in Britain, it's just absolutely a police state now. It's based on the data, it's like 1,000 times worse than Russia. Probably even worse than the Soviet Union or North Korea. I think Russia last year, they threw a couple hundred people in jail for speech, and I don't support that. But in Britain, it was thousands of people, even private messages. It's just crazy. We brought up the case the other day of a woman who was viciously raped, and she was frustrated because the court just let the rapist go free. And she was frustrated. She wrote to her friend that this faggot raped me and they're not doing anything about it. And they intercepted her private text message where she said faggot, and she went to prison for that. Meanwhile, the rapist goes free. These people, they have declared war on our people. And this is what we have here. The judge, Tracy, well, there's a problem right there. There shouldn't be girls in the league. There shouldn't be girl judges or lawyers. This judge, Tracy, today has sentenced 24-year-old David Morgans for 20 months in prison for some post on X. And this is the same woman that has released child rapists because the British prisons are overcrowded. So if you rape a child in Britain, especially if you're an immigrant, they're going to say, well, we don't necessarily support it, but no sense to throw you into prison, and our prisons are crowded. We'll let you go. But if you just post things on X, you're not hurting anyone, you're just speaking your mind, this bitch will actually throw you in a prison. This is the state now of Britain, and it is crazy. All right. So we went to Ireland, to Britain, and now let's go to our neighbors up north, Canada. And this dystopian ideology continues here. Breaking, Pastor Derek Reimer is arrested in Canada after refusing a court-ordered apology. Do you know what you're arresting this man for? He refused to apologize for his religious belief. So let's take a look at this video.
Are you the feelings police?
No, just the regular police.
Okay.
So you're under arrest for your breach of CSO. Can you come inside with us, please?
You're right here.
Okay. Sounds good. Are you able to drop that for me or pass it off to one of your friends?
You know why you're arresting this man for? He refused to apologize for his religious beliefs. Are you aware of that?
I am not aware of this.
So this is what happened. There was this is the background on this story. In Canada, like the United States did, they put these men, homosexuals, that dress as women in kids' classes. It's just sick. That should not be the point of classes, to have drag queens in a school, but because they're pushing this global homo agenda in Canada, they did this. And this man, he's a pastor. He had a problem with this. He protested this. He was arrested, and the judge ordered he had to apologize, meaning apologize for his religious beliefs, because in Christianity, this type of behavior is a sin. Now, all sinners, we're all sinners, so it's not like people that engage in homosexuality or transgenderism or drag queens. It's a sin, but they can repent and come to God. And it's not they're any worse than anyone else. We're all sinners, saved by grace, but you cannot encourage the sin. So in Christianity and many other religions, this is a aberrant behavior. This should be something you do not tolerate, especially in front of children. So he stood his ground. And because of this, he was arrested. And the judge says, well, okay, you can go, but you got to write an apology that what you did was wrong. And basically a struggle session. He refused to do that. Again, very good for him. And he was arrested. So, I mean, the early Christians, they were martyrs under Rome, under Nero. A lot of them were killed in the Colosseum for failing to renounce their beliefs. And we're starting to see that here. I mean, homosexuality and Christianity, they're not compatible. Either one goes, I mean, there's going to be one or the other, right? It just can't coexist. And we're seeing this right now. And it's a pretty bad situation. All right. Okay, here. And this is interesting. I haven't watched this all, but Milo was on Tucker Carlson. And I think most of you know who Milo was. And again, I don't always endorse Milo and everything, but he is interesting. So let's just take a look at what Tucker Carlson had to say here. Milo had to say on Tucker Carlson.
Are you gay? Were you gay? Like, what is gay?
Nobody's gay. In almost every case, and certainly in every male case, it is a trauma response. It is not a sexuality. It is not part of what you are or who you are or a component of your personality. It is a set of behaviors that emerges in people with a number of very easily identifiable common etiologies.
And I've talked about this a lot too. It's we kind of mixed up the understanding of words. Sometimes when we say a word, a description of something, is their inherent what they are. For example, a man and a woman is inherent, despite the trans ideology it is, or, a rock is a rock. So you're describing something it is. But then we use other words as a description to describe behaviors. For example, a man that steals things, we call him a thief, but that's not an inherent identity. You were not born a thief. I mean, you could argue that everyone has a sense of trying to take something, but this is a behavior that you do, and we put a description on that behavior called thief. And that's the same with homosexuality. There's no gay gene. We're seeing, obviously, you're not born that way because the rates of homosexuality change based on factors, if it's encouraged, and a lot of other things. So it's just there's no gene to this, right? There's no genetic basis for this. It's a behavior. And you could argue the behavior is good or bad. But what we've tried to do, or they've tried to do, is to claim that being so-called gay or engaging in homosexual acts it's like being born black or being born white or being born a human. It's not. It's a different thing. It's a set of behaviors. And this is an important thing to understand when we're talking about this behavior or ideology in many ways. Tucker Carlson, when he was on Piers Morgan, he kind of touched on that a little bit. And so, and we see this in everything, like the trans thing, the social contagion. I mean, yeah, years ago in the 70s, there was a very, very, very small subset of homosexuals that believed they were the opposite sex. Dog Day Afternoon, actually, that movie was based on that in the 70s. The guy wanted to rob a bank to try to get a sex change for his lover. And I think Sweden back then did some so-called sex changes. But again, it was a very, very rare thing. When I went to school, there's no one involved with that sort of thing. It was basically unheard of. But now they've been pushing that in the schools aggressively, the whole LGBTQ agenda. And now it's like 30% of kids identify as LGBTQ. I mean, that's not genetic. That is being pushed on them. And so I think Milo is very right, because Milo obviously was gay. He would call himself, but then he talked about what there was a lot into it as. So I think that's an important thing. All right, the final thing here that was just breaking today. And we don't have much update right now, but to show you this, it looks like the FBI has finally arrested the pipe bomber. You remember in January 6th, someone planted pipe bombs, but because this was before the whole entering the Capitol happened, it was very suspicious because they had surveillance video, but they didn't arrest anyone. And a lot of people are thinking that was like a false flag or what was happening there. And now the FBI has finally arrested someone, and his name is identified as Brian Cole. And it reports that the J6 pipe bomber suspect has been identified. It's a man from Virginia. NBC is reporting his name as Brian Cole, could be tied to Antifa. I cannot confirm this independently. So we'll have to see what the background of this guy was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some Antifa trying to stir stuff up. I don't think most, whatever you want to say of the January 6 people there that supported Trump, they weren't planting bombs. They didn't come with weapons. When they were in the Capitol, they were let in. They behaved properly. They weren't looting or trying to burn the place down. So I think someone else was definitely behind the pipe bomb. And they didn't detonate, but I think someone else was definitely behind the pipe bomb. So, all right. That's kind of the update for today. And guys, as always, thank you so much for being here. Be sure to like and subscribe. And tomorrow's Friday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.